I stood on my own front porch in the pouring rain, soaking wet, luggage at my feet. My husband had just changed the locks. 27 years of marriage, 27 years of standing by his side while he built his construction business. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was watching him open that door with her standing right behind him. Young, beautiful, smiling at me like she'd already won. Before we continue, please tell us where you're watching from so we know how far our stories reach, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. Let me take you back to where this nightmare started. 3 months earlier. Mama had called me from Georgia. Her voice was weak, real weak. The cancer had come back. Stage 4 this time. She needed me. And when your mama needs you, you go. No questions asked. I sat Curtis down at the kitchen table that same night, made his favorite meal, pot roast with all the fixings, the way Mama taught me. "Baby, I need to go take care of Mama," I said. "Doctor says she's got maybe 6 months." Curtis barely looked up from his plate. "How long you planning to be gone?" "However long it takes. She's my mama, Curtis." He nodded, but something in his eyes felt cold, distant. I pushed the feeling away, told myself he was just stressed about work. His construction company had been struggling lately, lost a few big contracts. I'd been helping him with the books, trying to keep things afloat. "We'll manage," he said. "You do what you gotta do." I kissed his forehead, packed my bags that night, left the next morning. Mama's house in Macon was exactly how I remembered it. Small, neat. Pictures of family covering every wall. Daddy had passed 5 years back. Heart attack, sudden. Mama never really recovered from losing him. Those next 3 months were the hardest of my life. Watching Mama fade away little by little. Changing her bed sheets, helping her to the bathroom, reading her favorite Bible verses when the pain got too bad. She talked about Daddy constantly, said she was ready to see him again. "Denise, baby," she whispered one night. Her hand felt like paper in mine. "Your daddy loved you so much. More than you'll ever know." "I know, Mama. I miss him every day." "He left you something important." Her eyes struggled to focus. "In his things, the old briefcase, don't forget." I squeezed her hand. "Mama, don't worry about that now. Just rest." She passed 2 days later, peaceful, in her sleep. Just like she wanted. The funeral was small. Folks from her church, a few cousins. I kept calling Curtis, left message after message. He never picked up, never called back. My best friend Yvonne from back home drove 4 hours to be there with me. "Girl, where is Curtis?" she asked, hugging me tight after the service. "I don't know. He's been distant lately, probably just buried in work." Yvonne gave me a look, the kind of look that said she knew something I didn't, but she didn't push it. After the funeral, I started going through Mama's things. Found Daddy's old briefcase in the back of her closet, brown leather, worn at the edges. Inside was a stack of papers, business documents, property deeds, and a single debit card, navy blue, with a bank I'd never heard of. Continental Heritage Trust. I stared at that card. Daddy had always told us he was just a simple salesman, traveled a lot, made decent money, but nothing special. This didn't make sense. I tucked the card into my purse, told myself I'd figure it out later. Right now, I just wanted to go home, wanted to see my husband, sleep in my own bed. The drive back to Atlanta took 6 hours. Rain the whole way. By the time I pulled up to our house, it was nearly midnight. The house was dark except for one light upstairs, our bedroom. I grabbed my suitcase, walked up to the front door, put my key in the lock. It didn't turn. I tried again. Nothing. That's when the porch light flicked on. The door opened, and there stood Curtis. But he wasn't alone. A young woman stood behind him. Couldn't have been more than 30. Light skin, long weave, wearing one of my robes. My robe. "Curtis?" My voice came out small, confused. "What's going on?" He stepped onto the porch, pulled the door closed behind him. "Denise, we need to talk." "Who is that? Why didn't my key work?" He reached into his pocket, pulled out an envelope. "You've been served." I took the envelope. My hands were shaking. "Served? Curtis, what are you talking about?" "Divorce papers. I want a divorce." The words hit me like a brick. "What?" "Baby, no. We can work through whatever this is. I just lost my mama. I need you right now." "I've moved on, Denise. This marriage has been dead for years. You were just too busy playing nurse to notice." The door opened again. The young woman peeked out, smiled at me. Actually smiled. "Hi," she said. Her voice was high, chirpy. "I'm Jasmine. You must be the ex-wife." "I'm not his ex-wife." I turned back to Curtis. "Curtis, please, let me inside. We can talk about this, figure things out." "There's nothing to figure out. I've already filed the paperwork. You'll get your share according to Georgia law. But this house? My business? That's all protected. My lawyers made sure of it." "Your lawyers? How long have you been planning this?" He shrugged. "Does it matter? Look, Denise, you're a good woman, but you're dead weight. I'm building an empire. I need someone who can keep up, someone young, ambitious, someone who isn't dragging me down with family drama." Family drama. He called my dying mother family drama. "Where am I supposed to go?" My voice cracked. "Curtis, it's midnight. It's raining." "That's not my problem anymore." He started to close the door. I grabbed his arm. 27 years. I stood by you when you had nothing. I helped build that business." He yanked his arm away. "And you'll be compensated fairly. But that's it. We're done. Move on." The door slammed in my face. I stood there in shock. Rain soaking through my clothes, suitcase at my feet, thunder rumbling overhead. I called Yvonne. She picked up on the first ring. "Girl, what's wrong? You sound upset." "He locked me out," I whispered. "Curtis locked me out of my own house. There's another woman. Yvonne, I don't know what to do." "Where are you right now?" "Standing in the rain like a fool." "Get in your car. Come to my house. Right now." I drove to Yvonne's place across town. She met me at the door with a towel and hot tea. Her husband Earl nodded sympathetically from the couch. "You can stay here as long as you need," Yvonne said. "We got the guest room all set up." I couldn't stop crying. 27 years. Gone. Just like that. The next morning I went to our bank. Our joint account had $17 in it. $17. Curtis had cleaned it out. My name was still on the account. But the money was gone. I sat in my car in that parking lot. Numb. How had I not seen this coming? All those late nights, those business trips, the way he'd stopped touching me, stopped talking to me. I'd been so focused on Mama that I'd missed every single sign. I remembered the debit card, the one from Daddy's briefcase. I pulled it out of my purse, stared at it. Continental Heritage Trust. I typed the name into my phone, found an address, a branch downtown, fancy building, marble columns. Not the kind of place Daddy would have done business. But I had nothing else. No money, no home. Might as well see what this was about. The lobby was massive, chandeliers, leather chairs. A security guard nodded at me as I walked in. I approached the reception desk. A young black woman looked up, smiled politely. "Good morning. How can I help you?" I held up the card. "I found this in my father's things. Roosevelt, Washington. He passed away 5 years ago. I'm just trying to figure out if there's any money left in the account. Maybe enough for a hotel room." Her smile faltered. She took the card, scanned it. Her eyes went wide. "Ma'am, please have a seat. I need to get my manager." "Is something wrong?" "No, ma'am, please, just wait here." She practically ran to the back office. 5 minutes later, an older black woman came rushing out. Designer suit, gray hair pulled back. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. "Ms. Washington?" "It's Robinson now. Denise Robinson." "Ms. Robinson, I'm Claudette Price, senior manager. Could you please come with me to my office?" The way she said it, the way she looked at me. Something was very wrong, or very right. She led me to a corner office, closed the door, sat down behind her desk. "Ms. Robinson, when was the last time you accessed this account?" "Never. I didn't even know it existed until yesterday." She typed something into her computer. Her face went pale. "Ms. Robinson, this account has been dormant for 5 years, since your father's death. The current balance is—" She paused, looked at me. "The current balance is $47 million. The room started spinning. "I'm sorry," I said. "Did you say million?" "Yes, ma'am, 47 million. But that's not all." She pulled up another screen. "This account is linked to a holding company, Washington Land Holdings, LLC. You're listed as the sole heir and beneficiary. The company owns—" She scrolled. Kept scrolling. "It owns approximately 12,000 acres across Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. Commercial properties, residential developments. The estimated total value is—" She stopped. Looked at me again. "Ma'am, you're worth approximately $230 million. I couldn't breathe. $230 million. My daddy. The man who drove a 15-year-old Buick, who clipped coupons every Sunday, who told me to always save my pennies. That man was worth $230 million. Claudette handed me a bottle of water. "Ms. Robinson, I know this is overwhelming, but there's more you need to know." "More? How could there possibly be more?" She pulled out a thick folder. "Your father was very specific in his estate planning. He set up the holding company 30 years ago, protected it with what we call a dynasty trust. That means the assets are completely separate from any marital property. Your husband has absolutely no claim to any of this." I sat up straight. "Say that again." "Your inheritance is protected, completely. Your father made sure of it. Even if you'd been married when he passed, Georgia law wouldn't have given your husband access. This was your father's legacy to you. Only you." Something shifted inside me. A spark, small but bright. "Why didn't he tell me?" I whispered. "All those years. Why keep it secret?" "I don't know, but he left you a letter. It's in the safe deposit box registered to your name. Would you like to read it?" 20 minutes later, I sat alone in a small private room. Daddy's letter in my hands, his handwriting, neat, careful, just like him. "My dearest Denise, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm sorry. Sorry for the secrets. Sorry for not telling you the truth while I was still here to explain. I grew up with nothing, baby girl, dirt poor in rural Alabama. But I was smart with land, bought cheap, sold high, built an empire quietly. I kept it secret because I wanted you to grow up normal, humble, kind. Money changes people, makes them forget where they came from. I watched you marry Curtis, didn't like him much, too ambitious, too hungry, the kind of hunger that eats everything around it. But you loved him, so I kept quiet. This money is yours. Use it wisely. Use it to build something good, something that helps people. That was always my dream. To leave you with the power to make a real difference. I love you, Denise. Always have. Always will. Your daddy." I folded the letter, pressed it to my chest, cried for the first time since Mama passed. But these weren't tears of grief. These were tears of rage. Curtis thought he could throw me away, thought I was dead weight, thought I had nothing. He had no idea what was coming. I left the bank with a new debit card, a checkbook, and Claudette's personal number. She'd already arranged a meeting with the estate attorney. Walter Freeman, tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. I drove back to Yvonne's house. She was in the kitchen making lunch. "How'd it go at the bank?" she asked. "They have anything in that account?" I sat down at the table. "Yvonne, sit down." "Girl, you're scaring me." "What happened?" "My daddy left me $230 million. She dropped the spoon she was holding. It clattered against the tile floor. "Come again?" $230 million. He owned a land holding company, properties all over the South, and Curtis can't touch a single penny of it. Yvonne's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Then she started laughing. Deep belly laughs. "Oh, Lord," she said between gasps. "Oh, Lord, that man has no idea what's about to hit him." "No," I said. "He really doesn't." The next morning, I met Walter Freeman at his office. 70-story building, corner suite. The man had silver hair and a 3-piece suit that probably cost more than my car. "Ms. Robinson," he said, shaking my hand. "I've been managing your father's estate for 20 years. I'm so sorry for your loss. Both losses. Your mother was a wonderful woman." "Thank you. I need to understand something. Why did my father hide this from me?" Walter gestured to a chair. I sat. "Your father was a brilliant man, self-made. He grew up in poverty, real poverty. When he started making money, he saw what it did to people, saw families torn apart by greed. He wanted you to have a different life, a normal life, but he also wanted you to be secure, protected." "Protected from what?" "From people who might use you for your money, including your husband." I leaned forward. "He knew? About Curtis?" "He suspected. Your father was very perceptive. He saw how Curtis looked at money, at success. Roosevelt was worried. That's why he structured the trust the way he did. Ironclad protections. Curtis can't claim a penny. Even with the divorce." But that wasn't even the worst part. What Walter told me next changed everything. "Ms. Robinson, your husband's business is in trouble. Serious trouble. I've done some preliminary research. Robinson Construction owes approximately $8 million to various creditors. Banks, suppliers, subcontractors. He's been hiding the debt, using new loans to pay old ones. It's a house of cards, and it's about to collapse." I felt my heart racing. "How do you know this?" "Public records, court filings. I have connections. Your father taught me to always know who you're dealing with. Curtis has maybe 6 months before everything falls apart, unless someone bails him out." An idea started forming. Dark. Perfect. "Walter, can we buy those debts?" He smiled. Actually smiled. "I was hoping you'd ask that. Yes, we can. Quietly. Through shell companies. Curtis would never know until we wanted him to know." "How long would it take?" "A month? Maybe 2? We'd need to be strategic. But it's absolutely doable." I stood up, walked to the window, looked out over the Atlanta skyline. Curtis was out there somewhere, probably with Jasmine, probably laughing, thinking he'd won. "Do it," I said. "Buy every single debt he has. And Walter, I want to hire someone ruthless, someone who knows how to destroy a man financially. I know just the person, Jerome Bennett, financial consultant. He's made a career out of corporate restructuring. Some people call him the Undertaker, because when he shows up, someone's business is about to die. Set up a meeting." I met Jerome 3 days later. Coffee shop downtown. He was tall, dark-skinned, sharp suit, cold eyes. The kind of eyes that had seen everything. "Ms. Robinson," he said, "Walter tells me you need someone buried." "Not buried. Crushed. Completely." "Tell me everything." I told him about Curtis, the betrayal, the mistress, the way he'd locked me out, called me dead weight. Jerome listened, didn't interrupt. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Here's what we're going to do," he said. "We buy his debts like you planned, but we don't call them in right away. We let him think he's safe. Let him think he's getting away with it. Meanwhile, we dig. Find every dirty deal, every corner he cut, every regulation he violated, build a case. Then when the time is right, we don't just take his business, we take everything. His reputation, his freedom, everything." "How long? 3 months? Maybe 4? Can you wait that long?" I thought about Daddy's letter, about Mama, about 27 years of my life wasted on a man who saw me as disposable. "I can wait," I said. "I can wait as long as it takes." Jerome and I shook hands. He got to work immediately. Over the next month, things moved fast. Walter's team quietly purchased Curtis's debts. All of them. $8.2 million worth. Through shell companies with names Curtis would never trace. Bennett Financial Group, Southern Capital Holdings, Piedmont Investment Trust. Jerome dug into Curtis's business records. What he found was worse than we thought. Curtis had been falsifying inspection reports, using substandard materials, bribing city officials, underpaying workers. The list went on and on. "This man's a walking criminal enterprise," Jerome said one afternoon in Walter's office. "We could send him to prison right now if we wanted." "Not yet," I said. "I want him to know it was me. I want him to see my face when his world falls apart." Meanwhile, I moved out of Yvonne's place, rented a small apartment, nothing fancy, kept driving my old car, wore my same clothes. I didn't want Curtis knowing anything had changed, not yet. I also started learning about Daddy's business, Washington Land Holdings. Turned out we owned shopping centers, office buildings, apartment complexes. The company had been running itself for 5 years with a management team Daddy had put in place. Good people, honest people. But now it needed a CEO, someone to make decisions, sign contracts. "You're ready," Walter said. "Your father left detailed notes. Business plans. He was grooming you for this without you even knowing it. All those years you helped Curtis with his books? You were learning, preparing." I took over as CEO officially, hired Jerome as my chief financial officer, assembled a board of directors, real estate developers, lawyers, accountants, people who knew how to build empires. We started expanding, buying new properties, developing land, creating jobs. I focused on affordable housing, community centers, the kind of projects Daddy would have loved. And through it all, I watched Curtis from a distance. He had no idea. No idea at all. He posted pictures on social media. Him and Jasmine at fancy restaurants, beach vacations, new cars. He was spending money he didn't have, trying to impress a woman half his age. "He's leveraging everything," Jerome reported. "Took out a new loan last week, used his house as collateral. Your old house. How much longer before he realizes he's drowning?" "Not long. Maybe a month. He's got a big project coming up. Mixed-use development in Buckhead. If he lands that contract, it might save him. If he doesn't, he's finished." "Who's the contract with?" Jerome smiled. "That's the beautiful part. The property owner is one of our subsidiaries, Southern Capital Holdings. He's going to pitch his project to us, to you." I felt my pulse quicken. "When?" 3 weeks. I already confirmed the meeting. He doesn't know who owns the company, thinks it's some out-of-state investment group. He's desperate. He'll take any meeting he can get. Everything was falling into place. 2.5 weeks later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Denise?" Curtis's voice. I hadn't heard it in over a month. "What do you want, Curtis?" "Look, I know things ended badly between us, but I need a favor. The divorce settlement. Can you waive your claim to the marital assets? I'm trying to close a big deal. The lawyers are dragging their feet. If you just sign off, we can both move on." I almost laughed. "You want me to give up what little I'm entitled to? After what you did?" Come on, Denise. Be reasonable. It's not that much money anyway. Maybe $70,000 after the lawyers take their cut. I'll give you $100,000 cash if you sign today. That's more than fair. $100,000, like that was supposed to mean something. I'll think about it, I said. I need an answer by Friday. This deal is time sensitive. I said I'll think about it. I hung up. Jerome was right. Curtis was desperate. Scrambling, which meant the meeting was coming soon. 3 days later, Walter called. It's scheduled. Next Tuesday, 10 a.m., Curtis Robinson will be presenting to the Southern Capital Holdings Investment Committee. You'll be sitting at the head of the table. Who else will be there? Me, Jerome, 3 other board members. All people Curtis has never met. He'll walk into that room thinking he's pitching to strangers. And then you introduce yourself as the CEO, and we watch him realize exactly who he's been dealing with. I couldn't sleep that night, couldn't eat. All I could think about was Tuesday, the look on his face, the moment he understood. But I had no idea that Curtis wasn't the only one about to get a shock. Because Tuesday morning, 2 hours before the meeting, Jerome called me. His voice was tight, urgent. We've got a problem. A big one. What kind of problem? I asked. My hand gripped the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. Curtis filed for bankruptcy protection last night. Emergency filing. He must have gotten wind that someone was buying up his debts. If the court grants protection, we can't call in those loans. We can't touch him. $8.2 million, and we can't do a damn thing with it. My stomach dropped. Can he do that? Just file bankruptcy and walk away? Technically, yes. But Denise, there's more. He's also filed a motion to seize marital assets. Claims you've been hiding money. Says you inherited something from your mother and didn't disclose it in the divorce proceedings. He's asking the judge to freeze everything until there's a full investigation. I sat down hard on my couch. He doesn't know about Daddy's money. He can't. We've been so careful. Someone told him something. Or he's fishing. Either way, if a judge grants that motion and starts digging into your finances, this whole plan falls apart. The meeting today becomes pointless. What do we do? Jerome was quiet for a moment. We move the meeting up. Right now. Get Curtis here before that bankruptcy hearing this afternoon. Once he's in that room, once he signs our preliminary agreement, the bankruptcy won't matter. He'll have entered into a contract with us. And contracts supersede bankruptcy protection in cases of fraud, which is exactly what we're going to prove he committed. Can you get him here? Already done. Told his assistant it was urgent. That we're considering another developer for the project. He's on his way. Should be here in 20 minutes. I looked down at myself. Sweatpants, old t-shirt, hair in a messy bun. I need to get dressed. You've got 15 minutes. Walter and I are already at the office. The conference room is ready. Denise, this is it. Whatever happens today, there's no going back. I hung up, rushed to my closet, pulled out the one designer suit I'd bought last week. Black. Tailored. The kind of suit that said power, money, authority. I did my makeup fast, hair pulled back in a neat bun. Pearl earrings, the same ones Mama wore to church every Sunday. I looked in the mirror, barely recognized myself. 30 minutes later, I walked into the Southern Capital Holdings conference room. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble table, 6 leather chairs. Walter sat at one end, Jerome at the other. 3 board members I'd recruited filled the sides. All of them wore expressions of calm professionalism. But I could see it in their eyes. The anticipation. They knew what was about to happen. I took my seat at the head of the table, facing the door. He's in the building, Jerome said quietly. Security just called up. My heart pounded. I pressed my hands flat against the table to keep them from shaking. The door opened. Curtis walked in carrying a leather portfolio. He wore his best suit. The navy one I'd bought him for our 20th anniversary. His hair was freshly cut, shoes polished. He looked confident, successful, like a man who was about to close the deal of his life. He didn't even glance at me. His eyes went straight to Walter. "Gentlemen," Curtis said, reached out to shake Walter's hand. "Thank you for moving this meeting up. I know you're considering other developers, but I promise you won't find anyone better suited for this project." "Please," Walter said. "Have a seat." Curtis sat down, directly across from me, still hadn't looked at me, probably thought I was an assistant or something. He opened his portfolio, pulled out glossy brochures, architectural renderings, financial projections. "The Buckhead site you own is perfect for mixed-use development," Curtis began. "Retail on the ground floor, luxury apartments above. My company has 20 years of experience in—" "Mr. Robinson," I said. My voice cut through his pitch like a knife. He stopped, looked up. Our eyes met. I watched the color drain from his face. "Denise? That's Ms. Robinson to you, or you can call me CEO, since that's my title here at Southern Capital Holdings." His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "What? No, this is some kind of mistake. You don't work here." "I don't work here," I said. "I own here. I own Southern Capital. I own Bennett Financial Group. I own Piedmont Investment Trust. And you know what else I own, Curtis? I own every single one of your debts, all $8.2 million worth." He stood up so fast his chair fell backwards. "That's not possible. You were broke. You had nothing." "Sit down, Mr. Robinson," Jerome said. "We're not finished." Curtis looked around the room, seeing the trap for the first time. "Who are you people?" "I'm Jerome Bennett, Chief Financial Officer, and your new creditor." "I'm Walter Freeman," Walter said, "estate attorney. I've been managing Ms. Robinson's inheritance for the past month. The $230 million inheritance her father left her. The inheritance you have no claim to." Curtis stumbled back against the wall. 200... What? Roosevelt? That old man was rich? "That old man," I said, voice cold as ice, "was 10 times the man you'll ever be, and he made sure you'd never touch a penny of what he built. Sit down, now." He sat, hands shaking. Jerome slid a folder across the table. "Open it." Curtis opened the folder. I watched his face as he read, watched him realize exactly how deep the hole went. "You bought my loans," he whispered. "All of them," Jerome said. "And now we're calling them in. Immediately, full payment. $8.2 million. You have 72 hours. "I can't. I filed for bankruptcy protection this morning." "You can't." "We can," Walter interrupted, "because you entered into preliminary negotiations with us before that filing. And because we have evidence of fraud, wire fraud, bank fraud, falsified inspection reports, bribing city officials. Every crime you've committed in the past 5 years is documented in that folder." Curtis's hands were shaking so hard the papers fell onto the table. "You're blowing this out of proportion. Those are just... Every contractor bends the rules sometimes. That's just business." "It's federal crimes," Jerome said. "Multiple counts. We've already been in contact with the U.S. Attorney's Office. They're very interested in your case." But that wasn't even the worst part. I stood up, walked around the table, stood right next to Curtis. "You called me dead weight," I said quietly. "You said I was dragging you down, that I couldn't keep up with your ambition." Curtis looked up at me. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. "Denise, please. We can work something out. I made mistakes. I was stupid. But we had 27 years together. That has to count for something." It did count for something. It taught me exactly who you are. A man who throws away his wife the second she's not useful anymore. A man who steals from his own business. Who lies. Who cheats. Who thinks the rules don't apply to him. I turned to Jerome. "Call the loans. All of them. Today." Jerome nodded. picked up his phone. Curtis grabbed my arm. "Denise, wait. Please. Think about what you're doing. If you destroy my business, Jasmine, she's pregnant. You'd be hurting an innocent child." I froze, looked down at his hand on my arm, looked back at his face. "She's pregnant?" 3 months. I didn't know how to tell you, but yes, she's carrying my child. If you do this, you're not just hurting me. You're hurting my baby." Something inside me cracked. Just a little. I thought about Mama, about the grandchildren we'd never have together, about the family I'd always wanted. Curtis saw the hesitation, pressed his advantage. "I know I hurt you. I know I was wrong. But please, don't punish an innocent child for my mistakes. Give me time. Let me sell some assets. Pay you back over time. I'll sign anything you want. But please, don't destroy everything." I looked at Walter, at Jerome. They were both watching me, waiting for my decision. This was the moment of revenge. Everything I'd planned for, everything I'd worked toward. One word and Curtis would lose everything. His business, his freedom, his future. But he was right about one thing. There was a baby now, an innocent child who didn't ask to be born into this mess. "How much can you raise in 30 days?" I asked. Curtis's eyes went wide. "What? How much? If I give you 30 days, if I delay calling the loans, how much can you come up with?" Maybe 2 million. If I sell everything that's not tied up in litigation. Sell it. All of it. 30 days. $2 million. And you sign an agreement. Full admission of guilt. Documented confession of every crime you've committed. If you don't pay, or if you try to run, that confession goes straight to the FBI. And you sign over full custody of your child to Jasmine. You don't get to be a father. You don't get to play family. You made your choice when you locked me out in the rain. Denise, those are my terms. Take them or leave them." Curtis looked broken. Completely broken. "I'll take them. Get out of my office." He left. Didn't even pick up his portfolio. The room was silent after he was gone. "That was mercy," Jerome said finally. "Are you sure that's what you want?" I sat down, suddenly exhausted. I don't know what I want anymore. I thought I wanted revenge, wanted to watch him suffer, but all I feel is tired. Mama always said hate is a heavy thing to carry. Maybe she was right. Walter stood up, walked over to me, put a hand on my shoulder. "Your father would be proud of you, not because you destroyed Curtis, but because you chose wisdom over vengeance." "Did I, though? I still took everything from him." "You took what he tried to steal from you. Your dignity, your security, your future. There's a difference between justice and revenge." Over the next 30 days, Curtis sold everything. His cars, his watches, his equipment. The house he'd locked me out of went on the market. Jasmine moved out. Word was she'd gone back to her mother's place in Florida. True to his word, Curtis came up with $2 million. Signed the confession. Signed away his parental rights. I used that $2 million to start a foundation. The Roosevelt and Geneva Washington Foundation. Dedicated to helping women leaving abusive marriages. We provided housing, job training, legal support. Everything I wished I'd had when Curtis locked me out. The rest of Daddy's money went to work. We built affordable housing across the South, created jobs, funded scholarships, everything Daddy dreamed about in his letter. Curtis disappeared after that. Heard he moved to Texas, got a job doing construction work for someone else's company. No longer the boss, just another worker. Jasmine had the baby, a girl. She sent me a picture once. Beautiful child. Looked just like her mother. I sent back a college fund, $50,000. That baby didn't ask for any of this, deserved a fair shot at life. I never remarried, never really wanted to, threw myself into the foundation work instead, into building the legacy Daddy wanted. Yvonne stayed my best friend, reminded me constantly that I'd done the right thing, that mercy was strength, not weakness. But late at night, alone in my new house, I sometimes wondered if I should have crushed Curtis completely, if mercy was just another word for cowardice. Then I'd think about Mama. About those last days with her, about how she'd talked about forgiveness, about letting go of bitterness before it poisoned your soul. Maybe I hadn't gotten the revenge I'd planned for. Maybe Curtis hadn't suffered the way I'd imagined. But I'd built something good, something that would outlast all of us. And somehow, that felt like winning. Thanks for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please leave a like and subscribe. Have you experienced something similar? Share your story in the comments below.